Hello, students. Have you ever wondered how a huge banyan tree and, let's say, a running deer are built? I mean, they're both living organisms, both are multicellular, but are they made of the same kind of stuff inside? Well, today we are going to explore exactly that, the big differences between plant and animal tissues.
So, let's start with this simple question. Just think for a moment. Are plants and animals made of the same types of tissues? Imagine a rose plant in your garden, and then think of a cat. Do you think their bodies are built from the same kind of tissues?
Well, if you guessed no, you are absolutely right. Their tissues are very different. But that just leads us to the next, more important question. Why? Why are they so different?
And the answer, you see, is all about their lifestyle. The way an organism lives, how it moves, how it eats, how it survives, that decides everything about its body, right down to its cells and tissues. And the lifestyles of plants and animals, well, they are completely different from each other. Okay, so let's dive into the first and most obvious difference. One moves and the other stays still. This one fact has a huge impact on how their bodies are designed. So plants, as we all know, are stationary. They are fixed in one place. But animals? They are always moving around, right? They move in search of food, to find a mate, or to find shelter.
Now this directly affects their tissues. A plant has to stand upright, fighting against wind and rain. For that, it needs a lot of supportive tissue to give it strength. An animal, on the other hand, needs tissues that help it move, like muscles, and tissues that help coordinate that movement, like nerve cells.
Now here is something really fascinating. To get all that strength and support, plants use a very clever trick. A lot of their supportive tissue is actually made of dead cells. Yes, you heard that right, dead cells.
So this supportive tissue is all about providing mechanical strength. And think about it. Using dead cells is a very efficient way to do it. These dead cells have thick, strong walls, and the plant doesn't have to spend any energy to maintain them. It's a low-maintenance solution for a life of standing still.
A perfect example that you have all seen is the husk of a coconut. You know how hard and fibrous it is? Well, that strength comes from a supportive tissue called sclerenchyma, and it is made up entirely of dead cells. So, to summarize this first big point, plants use a lot of dead cells to get structural strength because it's strong and saves energy. Animals, however, are made almost entirely of living cells because they need to be active and responsive for all their movement.
All right, let's move on. Now we'll look at two other key areas where plants and animals are very different: their energy use and their patterns of growth.
First, energy. This is quite straightforward. Since plants are stationary, they just don't need as much energy. But animals, all that walking, running, flying, it requires a huge amount of energy, so their tissues are built for a high-energy lifestyle. And now for growth. This is a very interesting difference. In animals, like us humans, growth is more or less uniform. Our entire body grows until we reach a certain age. But plants are different. Their growth only happens in very specific parts, and it can go on for their whole life.
Take a look at this diagram. You see, the growth in a plant is happening only in these specific regions, right at the tip of the stem and the tip of the roots. These are the plant's growth zones.
And the special tissue in these zones has a name. It's called meristematic tissue. The cells here are always dividing, which is what makes the plant grow taller and its roots grow longer. Animals don't have this. Our cell division and growth is much more spread out, and it's not limited to specific zones like this.
So let's put it all together now. We've seen all these differences, but what's the big idea? Well, it all comes down to a very important concept in biology: adaptation.
Every difference we discussed, from supportive tissues to meristematic tissues, from using dead cells to needing high energy, all of these are adaptations. They are perfect solutions that have developed over millions of years to help plants and animals survive in their very different ways of life.
So, the most important point to take away today is this. These differences are not random. They are brilliant adaptations. The tissues of a plant are perfectly designed for a stationary life, and the tissues of an animal are perfectly designed for an active life. Now that we have a clear idea of why plant and animal tissues are so different, we are in the perfect position to study them more deeply. So, in our next topic, we will begin exploring the different types of plant tissues in detail. I hope you're ready for it.